The Galactic Combat Academy's training grounds stretched across the crimson plains of Vexar Prime, where the Empire's most promising warriors learned the art of war. Today's exercise was meant to be simple. Young Kralix predators, barely past their juvenile stage, would demonstrate their natural hunting instincts against a helpless target. Julia Chen stood in the center of the arena, her hands bound behind her back, her standard-issue jumpsuit torn from 3 days of captivity. The crowd of alien dignitaries watched from elevated platforms, their multifaceted eyes gleaming with anticipation. Among them, Instructor Zekthor raised his forearms in ceremonial flourish. "Behold," his translator crackled, "the weakness of humanity exposed. These cubs, untrained and operating purely on instinct, will show you why the Terran species poses no threat to our expansion." Neo pressed against the energy barrier separating the observation deck from the arena floor, his knuckles white. He and Julia had been captured during a diplomatic mission gone wrong, and now he could only watch as his partner faced death for the amusement of their captors. "Please," Neo shouted, his voice breaking. "She's a medic, not a soldier." "This proves nothing." Zekthor's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his species. "Precisely the point, human. Your kind is soft, compassionate. These traits are fatal weaknesses in a hostile galaxy." The arena gates opened, and 6 Kralix cubs bounded into the space. Each stood nearly 4 feet tall at the shoulder, their razor-sharp claws scraping against the stone floor, their triple rows of teeth glinting in the harsh sunlight. They were apex predators from a death world, bred for millennia to kill without hesitation. Julia steadied her breathing, remembering her training. "Stay calm, show no fear." But her heart hammered against her ribs as the cubs circled her, their crystalline eyes evaluating, assessing. Zekthor's voice boomed across the arena. "Attack!" The lead cub lunged forward, then stopped, its head tilted, nostrils flaring as it caught Julia's scent. The other cubs halted their advance, confusion rippling through their pack formation. The lead cub took another tentative step, not toward Julia but around her, positioning itself between her and Zekthor's platform. "What are they doing?" one of the alien observers hissed. The cubs began to move in synchronized motion, forming a defensive circle around Julia. Their haunches lowered, tails rigid, teeth bared, not at the human, but at everyone else. A low rumbling growl emanated from the lead cub's throat, a sound that made even the instructor step back. "Impossible," Zekthor snarled. "They're defying their conditioning." He slammed a control panel and electric prods emerged from the arena walls, sending jolts of pain toward the cubs. The young Kralix yelped but held their ground, tightening their protective formation around Julia. One cub positioned itself directly in front of her, taking the full force of an electric shock that made its legs buckle. Still, it refused to move. Julia felt tears streaming down her face. "Stop it, you're hurting them." "They were ordered to kill you," Zekthor roared, his composure cracking. "Why do they protect you instead?" From the observation deck, Neo suddenly understood. "Because she's a healer," he called out, his voice carrying across the stunned silence. "For 3 days you've kept us in the holding cells next to the cubs' kennels. Every night when your guards weren't watching, Julia sang to them. She pushed food through the bars when they whimpered. She treated them with kindness." The lead cub nuzzled against Julia's leg and she felt its rapid heartbeat through her torn clothes. It was terrified but steadfast. An elderly Kralix handler, his scales faded with age, shuffled forward from the shadows of the arena entrance. "Instructor Zekthor," he said quietly, "I believe we have made an error in judgment." "Silence, old one." "No." The handler's voice grew stronger. "I have trained Kralix for 60 cycles. They are predators, yes, but they are not mindless killers. They understand pack bonds. They recognize genuine care." He gestured toward Julia. "This human has shown them something we never have, compassion, without expecting obedience in return." The cubs shifted their formation as more guards approached, their protective stance unwavering. The smallest cub, barely able to stand after multiple shocks, dragged itself to sit directly on Julia's feet, using its body as an anchor and shield. Zekthor's rage transformed into something else: uncertainty. The entire premise of his demonstration had collapsed. Before the dignitaries and academy officials, his proof of human weakness had instead revealed something far more troubling. Humans could inspire loyalty through kindness alone. A door burst open on the observation deck as Admiral Kexlan, Supreme Commander of the Academy, strode in. Her reputation was legendary, a warrior who had conquered 12 systems and never shown mercy. "Explain this circus." "Instructor," she demanded. Zekthor stammered through an explanation while the Admiral's gaze swept across the arena. She studied Julia, the protective cubs, and the shocked faces of the observers. Finally, she spoke. "Release the human. Both of them. But Admiral, did I stutter?" Her voice could have frozen plasma. "Instructor Zekthor, you sought to demonstrate human weakness. Instead, you've shown us that they possess a strength we lack, the ability to turn natural enemies into willing protectors through nothing but kindness." She turned to address the assembled dignitaries. "The Kralix cubs chose their own pack leader today, and she is human." As the energy barriers dropped and Neo raced toward the arena floor, the cubs reluctantly parted to let him through. Julia collapsed into his arms, exhausted and trembling. The cubs maintained their vigilant watch, their young eyes tracking every movement around their human protector. The elderly handler approached slowly, offering Julia a small bow of respect. "They will remember you," he said softly, "and so will we." As Julia and Neo were escorted from the arena, the lead cub howled, not in aggression but in mourning. The others joined, their voices creating a symphony of loyalty and loss that echoed across the training grounds. Zekthor stared at the cubs, at the scorch marks where they had endured pain to protect a member of what he called a weak species, and felt the foundations of his worldview crack. Perhaps, he thought with growing dread, humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their tactics. Perhaps it was their inexplicable ability to inspire devotion in the hearts of those who should have been their enemies. In the galaxy's long history of conquest and war, the Galactic Academy had finally learned a disturbing truth. Compassion could be the most dangerous force of all. The end.